everybody?
Hey!
Hi, welcome to Geekin' Out. We get together and we geek out. Yeah. Okay, so we are in for a very, very, very special episode. I feel like this episode we are like the most on point with like current events than we ever have been. Whatever, we gotta start somewhere.
Right.
We're so topical today.
I know, it's
Very.
perfect. It's perfect. Okay, so welcome to Geeking Out, where we're going to be talking about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. A little bit of Moon Knight in there too, but generally Marvel. Okay, so let's start with our cast. I am Julian, Bad Juju. You can find me there's a lot more people.
Yeah.
You can find me here on Twitch, also Instagram and things like that. You can find all my links there on this channel. Yeah, you can find me there. I'm just a fantasy crazy nerd, I guess. I guess those are my qualifications for today, at least. So otherwise, we have a very special guest today. We have Kelly, which I will let Ricky introduce.
Yeah. All right. So Kelly is someone I went the other way to my. So Kelly Mcdaniels is someone I went to CSU with. So Dre and I went to Columbia State University with her. She is a cosplayer, and if you get the chance to check out any of her stuff, she looks amazing. She mostly does Spider-Man and like I'm saying,
well, Spider-Girl.
Spider-Girl.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
But like
we'll be talking about the multiverse a bit.
Yes.
Should differentiate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You can also find her on Spider-Man Crawl?
So you can find me on Spider-Man Crawl Space, and also I have a show on the Spidey Dude Network all about Spider-Girl called Make Mine Mayday.
Yeah.
So you can catch me on
Ooh,
podcasts,
Mayday.
mostly
Okay.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yes, we're so excited. And so I wanted to invite Kelly because she should have been on the show. I mean, like, if she should have been on here, like it's
A number
past
of
due.
times.
Yes,
most.
So it's due time. So welcome, Kelly.
Welcome,
Thank
Kelly.
Thank you. I'm excited to join y'all today because I really like Sam Raimi, and this was Raimi at his peak Raimi.
So. Yeah.
When he's good, he's good.
This is also his debut into the MCU.
Yes, it is.
As an MCU director, not being retroactively added in.
Yeah.
Rude.
All right. So then, otherwise, welcome Kelly, and then otherwise we've got Ricky. Next to me. We know Ricky, mom manager, mom extraordinaire, teacher, and all those things.
I think it's the momager because that means like I know I'm a dance mom, but like I don't want to do that.
No, sorry.
I'm not a momager.
Wrong mom on there. Okay, my bad. But otherwise, she's a huge Buffy buff. Vampire Diaries. We love her. She's amazing.
Hashtag Body Bennett.
Yes, I know. All right, otherwise, Jermaine, introduce yourself. We have
I'm Jermaine. I'm your jack of 1,000 fandoms, and I am super juiced about today. I'm an all Marvel comic boy, and you have no idea what we're about to. Let's go.
Excited if you didn't know.
All right, and then Taman.
Hey everybody, I'm Taman Kane, writer, director, producer, and author of the Societe Saga coming out soon. So make sure you go and pre-order. Shameless plug. I'm really excited too, Jermaine, because this combines two of my favorite subgenres, horror and Marvel superhero movies. So, and I love Sam Raimi. Drag me to hell.
Combines
she didn't like us.
Horror, Marvel, and witches.
Yeah.
Three of my favorite things.
It was pretty packed.
It was, yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll get to it in a hot minute. So this is our cast. Thank you for joining. Ooh, sorry, I'm knocking everything over. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are gonna have a good time. So, if this is your first time and or returning time, what we do here is we have this game we play, and you drink whenever you hear the word multiverse. So we do this drinking game. Whenever we say it, we take a swig. By the end of it, maybe not, we are a mess, but we
or it starts that way.
I don't. Oh, sometimes that too. Well, who's hosting? Me, probably. Okay, so all right, so please grab a drink so you can join us for this. It's always a good time. So whenever you hear the word multiverse. Other than that, please like, subscribe, share, hit the bells, notification bells, and things like that.
All the things.
Here every Monday we do this 8 o'clock. 8:15 every Monday. But yeah,
After 8.
Yeah, it's really a good time. So come join us. We talk about something new every week, so it's a good time. All right, so we're gonna just kind of dive into.
Is that your third eye, Jermaine?
Yeah, his third eye, Ragamoto.
Oh, I thought you were trying to get it down. Like, where's the necklace?
He was like, I thought he was struggling for like that.
Yeah, he was struggling. That's why I was like, oh my God, is he really struggling with the necklace? I love it. I
know. Take it, bro. I'm still here for it.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're gonna dive right into Moon Knight. Let's do it. Moon Knight. Oh, he's so cute.
Right. Oh, he came back to him.
Yes.
Isn't that precious?
It was adorable.
I got really excited about these.
Ooh.
Okay, so Moon Knight is real quick. So Moon Knight is an Egyptian Marvel superhero whose lore is generally staked in Egyptian folklore and I don't know what other word that would be for it. Is it? But yeah, not like religion, because it's not like religion either. You know what I mean? So
no, it's steeped in like Egyptian folklore, mythology, and a whole lot of not.
Well, yeah, of course. You know, they take a seed from something and then they turn it into their.
Yeah.
You know, they marvelize it.
Yeah.
Into what they make it. So, but you know, he's kind of all right. So he's in that part of the world is the point. So it's nice. This is something that we're always talking about getting different perspectives and different stories that come from a different mythos. It's not always the same Norse gods and you know the same run of the mill European centric origins. You know, so that I like that about this, which also we get in Multiverse of Madness when we get to it. But so Moon Knight is very much that, and it's based around Steve / also Mark. I don't know exactly who's supposed to be the lead here because we're introduced to one before the other, but I feel like one overshadows the other in a way, and then they kind of just become one and the same. Who knows? Anyway, so it's kind of what is great about it is it very much touches upon using mental health issues as like a basis for a lot of things. He's got a lot of personality disorder, and that plays into how he becomes and is a superhero. So it's a really cool perspective in that way. So I thought that they did that justice. You know, kind of showing us that, you know, people even who have struggles are still heroes in a way, you know?
Well, that's always been one of the strengths of Marvel Comics and what makes them different from DC Comics. With DC Comics, a superhero's weakness was always like something that like kryptonite or the color yellow or being bound by man. Like it's always like their powers. Whereas the weaknesses of a Marvel character are things that are far more human, being in a wheelchair, having claustrophobia, having dissociative identity disorder, things like that.
Yes.
So it's things that people actually deal with all the time, but they're still heroes despite their shortcomings, despite being blind. Like it's always something that they overcome that other people can look up to. People that actually have these
disorders or
issues
needs.
and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So I guess to clear up some things, we haven't seen Moon Knight yet. Is like, so we have the vessel, this vessel, and then we have and then that's what it made it seem like you can't really tell who starts and where it begins, and so there's Mark, and then there's Steven, and like they basically share this body at this current moment.
There's a whole bunch of people going on.
Right.
It's a party. It's a party.
I feel like, so how it started out in the comic books is Mark Spector is the mercenary / ex-military guy that gets killed or like beaten or shot and left for dead in the desert, and sort of like brought back by Khonshu,
who is the god of the night sky,
who is the god of the moon, the Egyptian god of the moon. And to me it's weird that they, like, this series just outright goes, oh no, they're gods, they're Egyptian gods. Like, they don't explain them as like being aliens of some sort, like all of the other gods have been so far. And that feels sort of
okay. So that was also a little bit of an issue I had with Multiverse, was also that, you know what I mean? You kind of put some things in there, and there wasn't as much setup as we're used to, I guess. So
I guess that's an interesting point. So like, that is interesting when you think about like the Asgardians, who are literally like, they're on a different planet. They're literally aliens, as opposed to like Egyptian gods, and like apparently these gods were a part of Earth as far as we know it.
Eternals.
Right.
The Eternals were essentially the Greek gods and the Roman gods.
Yeah.
But they're more or less alien robots.
That's interesting. I didn't even think
they gave us a backstory on like where they came from. Same thing with Asgardians. They're like the Norse gods, I'd say, right? But they also, they have their story. They're their own alien race with their own planet, technically, their own plane, I suppose.
Maybe they just thought it was something that we assumed. Like, they don't have to. You don't have to explain the Greek gods. Maybe they felt like maybe we don't have to explain the Egyptian god, even though they don't have any airplay and nobody ever talks about them in a public setting. But whatever. I'm just trying to be devil's advocate.
Nobody talks about them, but also it's not like they didn't have the time to explain where these gods came from. They're just like, oh, we've just chosen to have avatars and never interfere. Why? Where are you? You're all still around, so like, what is your deal? What is that mug, Julian?
All right, I was just trying to. It has Geekin out on it, so I was like, "Oh, Patreon guys."
Wait, I'm sorry. Excuse me. When I signed my contract, I didn't get a welcome package. Where did you get this?
Oh, no,
Ricky, we're on air, okay? So we all sign contracts, NDAs, and all of that type of stuff. So when I signed my contract, I don't remember getting my welcome mug. Where my head at?
Because we paid for these merchandise. We had to pay for merchandise.
Can you bleep cuss words out? Can you bleep cuss words out on here?
No,
we have to bleep ourselves.
I would be
this is some bleep.
My geeking out mug in my shirt.
No, because Julian made his mug and sent it to himself. I made myself my t-shirt on Canva and sent it to myself. No,
okay, because on the back it also says chaotic and unprofessional.
I get it. It's on brand. The point is, I would like a welcome basket with my wine of choice. It could be a miniature. Oh, are you writing this down? Good. And,
let me write this down. No, we save these. I can always come back and take notes.
So with that welcome basket, do I get a copy of the
signed, sweetie, and signed?
Okay, so
signed
I don't have to pay for
and
this
a
time.
Oh
I got
yeah,
four.
yeah. In a signed book.
That is-
Yes. Does this one come
This is the thing about people. They always want to say, let me just get the hookup on that book. But I just want my things that are part of my contract. You know.
Anyways, back to
I
Moon
buy this
Knight.
book. I
Back
buy
to
this
Moon
book.
Knight.
You have to sign it. I buy it, but it needs to come signed.
Oh, it will be signed.
That's
For
all.
sure.
Like,
Anyways,
girl, I
back
know
to-
who you are.
back to Moon Knight. Okay, so Kelly, so what were your impressions? And we talked a little bit before show that she hadn't finished it yet, but she knows the comic well.
Yeah, well, I know the character sort of well. So this
Yeah.
is the thing when it comes to these kind of more mystical characters, it's not my wheelhouse. I am a Spider-Man fan. I like Marvel Knights, so your more street-based characters, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones.
Okay.
Those characters, those are normally what I know. But Moon Knight does show up occasionally to help them, and he's a very rough character. The jokes about Dracula owing him money did actually come from a comic. It's just a random joke because he does have multiple personalities. I was like, I don't want to call it what it's what it's not. Like, don't want to call it in an inappropriate term because they've changed the disorder name quite a few times, but he does have multiple personalities. The thing that I noticed and kind of what made me go, I'm gonna wait till I can just binge it, is the fact that certain alters don't show up until way later in a story. And so they almost didn't feel earned. Mr. Knight is the particular character. And that's because his story on how that alter came to be is completely different than what is in the TV show. I don't mind it as much, but it did irk me enough that I was like, I need to watch this entirely instead of sitting and stewing for a week on if something is inaccurate. Because
Let me co-sign that because after watching it, the reward at the end was not strong enough for it to be a weekly show, in my opinion. So I actually agree with that. So like the reward for coming back every single week, if you would have just gave me the material, I would probably enjoy it more versus me having to come back without the reward.
Yeah, and to me that feels a lot like Falcon and Winter Soldier as well.
Agreed.
Like I loved it, but at the end there wasn't enough payoff. Like the thing is that we were all tuned in for WandaVision because there was this emotional storyline there. There is still emotion and there is still like a heart to the storytelling, but because the storytelling is so different than the way WandaVision was written, it just feels more like something we could binge later. And I think it might just be that we're so used to the Netflix Marvel shows, which are still in this universe, as they always have been. So maybe that's a part of it. Like maybe we're just really used to like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and how they like even Luke Cage didn't have a really good payoff until after we binged. Like it's good to binge, but if we had watched it weekly, it wouldn't have been as great.
I can see that because like honestly, I can say that nothing has really given me the same like the feels or even just like the anticipation that WandaVision has.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the closest one, surprisingly for me, was Hawkeye. Because like
I can see that.
I really like Hawkeye, and like I didn't care about Hawkeye. I didn't care about Clint really up until Hawkeye. So, and even the same thing. I felt the same way about Natasha and Black Widow, but there was something about WandaVision and the build-up and the suspense and the what's going to happen next and how does this connect to here, like that. There was so much anticipation of what's happening next and what does it all mean in the grand picture that we haven't been able to really get since WandaVision.
I will say
about Vision,
there was one
a big mystery that everyone was trying to solve once. And with Moon Knight, that mystery is not there. Like they try, but it's not there. You're not wondering who's in control, who's Khonshu, where, or like is Khonshu real? One of the things of modern Moon Knight that's so interesting, that's in one of the more recent runs, is that Steven / Martin isn't really sure if Moon Knight is real or a figment of his imagination. They played around with it later on in the series, but it wasn't the whole series. So you, as the viewer, sort of just went with it. And since Khonshu was talking to him from the get-go, like, I guess.
Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think they didn't do enough fleshing out on that one. And it wasn't enough like week to week. But I will say I disagree a little bit with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I thought that the payoff at the end wasn't. I agree with that, but I think that week to week it did keep me like, I do want to see the next one. I did want to get to the payoff, hoping that it would be.
That was the thing, is we were hoping for the payoff that didn't come, so
Yeah.
that it doesn't bring me to want to rewatch it.
Right.
And it
Agreed.
almost feels like I wish it had been something bingeable, because then you wouldn't basically already kind of like, because to binge it, I think you'd be able to find a lot of extra little Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is
I don't want to go
why?
back and do it.
Exactly, because the payoff isn't good. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, the pacing overall, to everyone's point, the pacing overall is the problem. If I had to put one thing negative that I would say about it, the pacing overall for a show that's weekly wasn't good. Unlike WandaVision, whose pacing was great because it had the mystery element. It had like the heart element, the romantic side of it. You wanted to know what was happening. Then they introduced what was going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. So it was just amazing overall. It had you guessing.
And the setting like felt like it changed. Like each week was a different like TV era until those last half of the show.
That was great.
Where like you're in the present, like to the point where like, okay, this is not a show anymore. Okay, this is what's really going on. So like that kept me interested. That kept me going.
And maybe that's part of that stylistically weekly thing, because back then stylistically shows wanted you to come back every single week. You know, cancellations meant that for sure for them back then. So with WandaVision having those different stylistic tones from different genres, maybe that's just an automatic incorporation.
Well, it was also too, it was the kind of, it was Marvel Studios' first nod at a TV series, and they were trying to incorporate the elements of the history of a sitcom in with this very poignant tale of grief and loss. And so to me, that was wonderful. And I do feel too, like, if we didn't have WandaVision and we were just talking about Moon Knight as normal, I also feel like, you know, because it sadly, like, it is connected to WandaVision because that was the first series. So we're always going to be comparing it to this mini series that, you know, was written from start to end. It wasn't meant to have a second season. It wasn't meant to be anything other than this, honestly, the 6-part mini series.
Yeah. It's truly standalone, and and it really is like a bridge into what's to come next. It like that's honestly that's also missing too. Like there's clearly you can anticipate what could happen later on, but you already know like there's something's going down. Like it's clear we got some vision going here.
Yeah, it also
no pun intended.
I also think to like kind of lead it into the Doctor Strange discussion, if y'all want to go ahead and do that, is it built it up to make it seem like the next time we saw Wanda, we were going to really kick off Phase 4, and I don't think that's happened yet.
No,
you don't think this movie kicked us off?
I think it tied up loose ends and created new stories with a new standalone story. But the issue is we have the same feeling with Eternals.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And those are two separate little stories. Now I don't know how they're going to connect the two. So I mean, I'm sure they will, and I'm sure it'll be great. And two, we haven't seen Thor yet.
Right.
Yeah, on the way.
Thor will be the final one that connects the two, because right now, with all the TV shows and the movies going, there are 3 concurrent main plots going. There's the multiversal stuff that's happening from Loki and Doctor Strange and Wanda. There's
Spider-Man.
the secretly culminating Dark Avengers that started with Black Widow and Falcon and Winter Soldier and all that.
The secret
And
invasion.
there's a secret invasion and cosmic stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a question
going
that
on with. Oh, I didn't even know I wasn't wearing this. With the Eternals and other things. Also, they're still putting the Avengers back together because
Avengers.
all the Avengers are either retired or just gone.
Yeah.
So all we have left is Falcon, Winter Soldier, not Wanda.
Well, there's an iffy thing there, but also too though they're really more setting it up for the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
With Kate Bishop,
Yes,
with
there's been
America
a
Chavez,
assembling the Young Avengers.
And her kids, right?
her
Wanda's
kids.
Yeah.
They've got to show up
Well, they're
somehow.
part of
I
the
just
Young
don't
Avengers.
know how now.
Trying to figure that one out.
But I found it interesting that, and we already told people that this is gonna be spoiler filled, right?
Yeah, the whole okay,
hold on.
Spoilers.
Yeah, this is
Ricky.
But
are we going on commercial?
Yes, we do need to go on commercial.
Doing commercial. Let's go to commercial now and then dive into this new movie.
Please and thank
Love
you.
it.
Yes.
Please and thank you.
Okay, so let me find the right commercial. All right, y'all. So we're gonna come back in a second and get into some multiverse and all the things. Okay, be right back.
All of it.
I said go to commercial.
Yes. We're back.
It did go to commercial. Thank you very much.
And we're back.
That
That was quick. I was like, let me take this chance to talk to Instagram really fast.
No, it was literally 15 seconds. But yes, so that was a commercial for Hyperfocus, which is going to be a new show that I'm doing on Twitch with my friend Tara G. Noir. Two 30-something-year-old Black ladies that were recently diagnosed with ADHD and all the things that we've hyper-focused on over the years. So I'm excited about that. That's premiering May 18th on Twitch only.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
So we'll eventually go to transfer some of the YouTube, but it's on Twitch, so get ready.
Awesome.
Yeah, just that.
Okay,
so we're gonna dive right into Multiverse of Madness, then, yeah. Oh.
Okay, so I know we haven't gotten to this point yet, but we're gonna talk about where we go from here. But one thing that Multiverse of Madness made me question is where is the middle ground in all of these things?
Yeah.
I know we'll talk about this, but where's the middle ground on all this? Because in the first huge phase of things, we have your human, not to pull off from DC, but your meta-human, chemically changed, something happened to them, or just really skilled fighters, and you have your aliens. And you have a little bit of in the beginning, Wanda and Petra are your meta-humans at this point. And then now we have, with Doctor Strange, we have magic, sorcery, also aliens, gods, and plus you're still your extremely skilled fighters, and where is the middle ground in all this?
So can I give a little history? Because as you were talking, it sprung up a thing.
Yeah.
But my first impressions obviously are just this is so Sam Raimi and so comic booky, and it gave me such a 70s vibe, which was the height of Doctor Strange. And the reason why was because that was finally when the comic code allowed them, DC and Marvel, to start doing darker tones and horror tones and supernatural and magical tones. And that's kind of how the phases have even sort of worked loosely. And so that's kind of what this really kicks off is now we're getting into the occult. Now we're getting into the super crazy. That there is that undercurrent of Marvel that is just so magical, and I mean it gets really dark and twisted. And so I think Sam Raimi was the perfect director for this in the fact that he made horror fun in Evil Dead. And even though I know some people didn't like the jump scares and the horror in this movie, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun, but I think it was appropriate.
It was
I think so too.
Okay,
Very
guys.
appropriate.
Yo, when she came out at Charles, that was beautiful. That was
My
beautiful.
favorite part.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
it was my favorite part. Yes. Oh my god, I was like,
Mine
and then
too.
I was like, oh,
One of mine
no.
was
I like cried a little bit.
Which
after.
also brought up another question, what I'll get to later. Okay, so my first impression was the moment when Dr. Strange is meeting up with Wanda for the first time after like a while, and you know she's in her nature,
Forest.
her forest with
Her
the
apple
trees,
orchard.
her apple orchard, and you know you're just kind of like, what's going on here? This is not what we remember from the end of WandaVision. They're walking back, and then she's like, she says America's name, stops.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I saw that immediately too.
I didn't say that. She just said it so nonchalantly. I didn't say her name. You didn't tell me her name yet. And next thing you know, bam, we're in it. Like they didn't give us much time really to prepare ourselves. No, they were like, let's do this shit now. Okay, we got the cutesy, we got the wedding, hearts and feels for Doctor Strange. No, we're gonna get into some shit now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like Marvel Studios fully expected you to have watched WandaVision to know where she is. I think the only thing that's really jarring is just, you know, they don't really remind you of what the Darkhold does to a person, like it did to Agatha.
Well, they've never explained what the Darkhold does. Period. The only time we've ever encountered the Darkhold in the MCU is on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like,
It's
a
little different. Yeah,
it's a different one. Maybe they look different in different universes.
But
right?
It looks different, but
it's
essentially the same thing.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the TV show that was on ABC.
How do they explain the Darkhold? Is my point.
So in the movie, they do explain
the Darkhold. Yeah, the movie and the show both explain it almost the same way. Basically, the Darkhold is a book of evil spells like black magic that was left behind by the demon Chthon, however you want to pronounce him.
Yeah,
he's like one of the Octessants.
It's the Book of the Damned, which is very Kandorian, book from Evil Dead. There's a lot of Evil Dead references in this movie, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Oh yeah,
Antone, including
even Bruce Campbell was in it, which I loved.
Well, Bruce Campbell's in everything with Sam Raimi because they're
part of the contract.
They're childhood best friends, and I love the fact that Bruce Campbell's cameo, which I think this is the biggest spoiler of all that no one should say, but we're gonna say it, is a callback to Evil Dead 2, where he's punching himself with his evil hand.
Yeah.
Was it the same hand? Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yes, it's the one hand.
It's just so funny because it was like, Sam Raimi would sit there and like, if he has a way to make Bruce Campbell hit himself, he's gonna do it. And now look at how much money he had to get this done for Pizza Papa.
For Pizza Papa. And Dr. Strange handled him too. He just was spelling all over him.
That's so funny because like that is
casting.
And he's gonna make sure you see him more than once too. Like you're gonna sit and see him again.
Yeah, he's gonna be doing the same thing probably. Right. But it's gonna be great.
Oh my goodness, yes.
The new Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah.
Honestly, they need to replace Stan Lee with somebody. Oh
no!
Right now, that's it. They're gonna put him in there.
Replace Stan Lee with who?
I know.
Stan Lee is Marvel Comics.
No. I will say I didn't notice it this time, but unfortunately I'm not a super Doctor Strange fan. I enjoyed in Captain Marvel where they had like Kelly Sue DeConnick as an extra. And I think that would be really interesting instead of having just Stan Lee, maybe finding key character creators for
the
certain arcs that they're
creators.
using in the stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And having them have a glorified cameo, because in that way it's actually honoring their hard work in
Right.
their
Yeah.
storytelling.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Actually,
absolutely. Absolutely.
as a nod to that, they did offer a cameo spot to Jim Starlin during the Infinity Game or Infinity War
Infinity War.
Endgame
Yeah.
thing. For those that don't know, Jim Starlin is the guy that wrote the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's the Marvel cosmic guy. Like, he was all in on Cosmic Marvel. Nobody cared about Cosmic Marvel except for Jim Starlin. Also, I want to take this moment to say for a small moment of silence for George Perez. Now that you made me think of it,
Yes.
George
Yeah.
George Perez is the artist behind so many of these comic books, and he had a long run on the Avengers, a super long run on Wonder Woman. He's the artist on the Infinity War or the Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War and the Infinity something
He
else.
he he wasn't the main artist, but he did do very key issues when they needed help. Um, to fill in those big moments, he was always willing to help Marvel, even though he's more of a DC guy. So, yeah, Uncle George, as he liked to be called at Dragon Con, and to those that have met him and were gracious, were lucky enough to talk to him, he was a very, very kind soul.
Aw.
Super prolific. So
All right. So, anybody else's favorite first
Oh.
impressions?
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So my first impressions of WandaVision, I was blown away. You have a delay. So I was blown away by as soon as she turned that garden into what it really looked like, I was floored. She looked amazing. The set design was amazing, and how she referenced to herself as two different people, as being, Wanda
Scarlet Witch.
versus, I'm going to say Scarlet Witch. And she had some really good zingers when she was going back and forth about the motherhood thing. That mothers are magical, and I thought that was really cool.
That was a great one.
Yeah.
That was a great one.
Have y'all realized Multiverse of Madness is mom?
Yes.
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 Wow.
Of course.
Wow.
On
And it
Mother's
opens on
Day
Mother's
weekend.
Day.
Mhm.
Right?
It's
Exactly.
perfect. It's just perfect. But really, that's what this is, the perfect Mother's Day movie release for Marvel to put out. Even though it is dark and sort of horror on the horror spectrum, it still perfect because it's all about motherhood. And I was excited because Sam Raimi does some amazing things. But what was really cool, like, we in the middle of the movie, out of nowhere, we got like a possession story, but just from the possessor's point of view.
Mhm.
And I thought that was really cool to see that, how he painted that picture, how it just floated, the entity just came to the house, took over this lady. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is another part of a subgenre that I love. So he sort of, and then when she was limping with the blood, she was giving me Wicked Witch Carrie realness. And I was just like, yes. Hansel and Gretel, she was giving me all of it.
So
And I
Elizabeth
love it.
Olsen did the damn thing in this
Yo,
movie.
she acted the shit out of that whole movie.
She did.
Oh my God.
Part. Oh my God.
I'm being reasonable. Hashtag being reasonable.
Right.
I mean, she was.
That's the
She was. She was going to go to the ends of the earth for her children and find her children. But I will say this. I think it is about motherhood, but it's also about the loss of a promise or the loss of what could have been. Because in her
Ooh.
universe, she didn't get her kids.
Right.
They were a figment of her imagination, that stuff she was working around. But she knew in her dreams, and she realized really quickly what that meant was they're out there,
Right.
and I'm going to go. And it doesn't matter who I destroy, who I cross, good, evil, whatever. I'm going to go get my boys, which I think is a very motherly instinct and a very heroic instinct, even if it's a little selfish. But the thing is that she didn't realize, and maybe this could have been because the Darkhold had as a hold on her, or it just could just be out of blindness from grief. She didn't realize that by doing anything and everything to get her boys, she's taking away from herself as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what
But
that
I
possession
think-
and all that was for.
I think it didn't hit home for her because everyone warned her and they told her about it, but they didn't like it didn't hit her until she was forced to fight, forced to show boys what she was doing to America by America. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, because for her, everyone kept telling her they're not real, but like they're real
To her.
to her, number one, but also they're real somewhere else. And like I was listening to a podcast that was reviewing this. It was actually a horror podcast, and they were talking about this. And one of the hosts was like, I didn't see like the madness in the multiverse. The madness wasn't really there. And I said the madness wasn't actually in the multiverse. The madness was in Wanda.
Yes.
Wanda was like she's reaching her peak in madness because she's trying so hard to get to her boys in whichever multiverse she could find them in, and what she was doing to get to them. Like the madness was there. The madness was in motherhood.
Well, too, she was destroying these different multiverses to get what she wanted, to find America and to get these boys. So the thing is and that's kind of what we're going to see. And I'm like trying to hold off for us to get to the point of the after credit scenes, because that I think is going to tie into that. But the thing is that Wanda ripped everything apart.
Yeah.
She made things worse. Like that's why, like, I'm sure Loki season 2 is going to be all about how she literally when she cut that sapling off of the apple orchard. That's kind of what she did here. It's very reminiscent, which of course, the multiverse in the MCU looks like
a tree.
Looks like the tree.
A big old tree.
Yeah. It's just, for me, it was really cool for another layer of what Marvel does so well as making these villains so relatable. Because what would you do if you had the power and you were grieving? What would you do if you had this amount of power that you're still learning and someone took the person away that you love the most, and you had kids, but you know they exist? What would you do as a mother? Because at this point, you are one. So it makes you question those things. Like Killmonger, I question his motive, and I actually agree with him. And so, like, I think Marvel does that so well with their villains.
Oh yeah, they're giving them like redeemable qualities. But to be honest, Scarlet Witch has always been redeemable. She's always because she's been a part of the Avengers, but then also a villain multiple times. You know what I mean? So that's always kind of been her story and her shtick. So they've really played to her essence in that way very well, like bringing that out of her character.
My thing is the lack of empathy for Wanda, because throughout her time in the MCU so far is that she's been trying to learn and get a grasp of what she's capable to do. From the moment we meet her in was it Age of Ultron?
Yeah, Age of Ultron.
Because even here, remember when she arrives at the temple, she says, "I was meant to rule. I was meant to rule." The Scarlet.
Right. She's still learning about herself. She's learning about herself the entire time.
That's when she arrives at stupid Wondagore Mountain.
Okay, so fun fact on Wondagore, and I think that's kind of what they were alluding to here, is in the original run of the comics, because her origin has changed quite a few times thanks to her parentage, but the twins were born on Wondagore. And there was and I cannot remember his name.
They were left on Wondagore.
Well, no. Well, it depends on the origin story. The very, very original, they were born on Wondagore because their mom was left on Wondagore, like while she was pregnant with them. But there was a like evil wizard essentially, and I cannot remember his name. But he put his essence,
High Evolutionary.
One of the High Evolutionaries, because that always changes to the names. But that High Evolutionary put his essence into Wanda in one of the origin stories, and kind of in that part of the comic kind of controls her, kind of like the way the Darkhold is controlling her now. Because the Darkhold is kind of being the Scarlet Witch as long as she has control of it, but she does need to learn that power is actually within her, which I think will be her next arc if we see her again, which I think we will.
I think we
I
will
hope
too.
so.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of why her
Right.
temple is sitting there on Wundagore, is what
Yeah.
I believe. Is I think that was kind of their workaround, because I don't think that they know what to do with the High Evolutionary yet. Or the High Evolutionary is owned by Sony.
Also, the High Evolutionary. Is he?
I don't know. That's
I
my
don't
thing.
think
Is like I'm
so,
not
but
sure if he is or isn't.
He shouldn't
Well,
be.
and
The High Evolutionary's always been more of an X-Men villain than Spider-Man, or an Avengers villain than Spider-Man. But
Well, not
the
Spider-Man,
concept of the High
Spider-Woman.
Evolutionary.
Spider-Woman. He's very connected to that storyline, which is
Yeah.
Her even though Jessica Drew
he was with her first, huh?
Yeah.
But Spider-Woman isn't really connected to Spider-Man. But
no.
Well, anyway.
Not yet.
But the movie rights have always been with Sony for Spider-Woman. It's a whole thing. Like it goes deep. It goes deep into more of the DC versus Marvel thing.
Sense.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
It's kind of irksome though, because it's like all these rights games that we're playing. It's like, well, you can't just consolidate into exactly. It's all money. You can't just consolidate
all about money
into what they should be.
To tell me that Sony has had the rights to Spider-Woman this entire time.
Yes.
His mind is blown.
They have had the rights. They have had the rights to Jessica Drew and all of her iterations. So that means Maddie. That means the current
Arachne and Aranya and everybody I love.
Wait, so Sony was behind the Broadway show?
No, that's a different right.
They took the Arachne route.
Set of rights.
Well, no. When he means like Aranya, that's the current 616 Spider-Girl. But you do know that Jessica Drew is going to be in Across the Spider-Verse and is going to be voiced by Issa Rae.
She's going to be
So
yeah, that's right. I did hear that.
I just feel like he just broke like Jermaine's heart for like 10 seconds. He's trying to recover.
and I believe Madam Web has been casted, the girl from Euphoria.
I hate it.
The blonde girl from Euphoria. I can't think of her name.
No.
Not Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, Sweeney. Yeah, that's what the rumor is. That is Sydney Sweeney.
Okay.
What are they going to do with Madam Web?
I need Kelly to come back.
Kelly is so blown back that she's like, what? Her face is perfect for that.
No, I need to fact check that.
So anyway, what were we just talking about before?
No, so we've been talking about first impressions.
Not lost.
But we
we were on first impressions. Okay, so otherwise he's killing it. Other first impressions have been pretty solid, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam did his thing.
Yeah, but we did have a little bit of problem with pacing, I think. I think that's also kind of with mine. Only because it's like we're getting a lot of different content, and like you were saying, Ricky, where's the middle ground?
My middle ground is in general. Where of everything. Where's the middle ground of the big picture?
And I was like, oh, surprise, surprise. It just so happens that in this universe, Christine happens to have all the answers you need, Doctor Strange. I was like, come on. This is a little much. Like, we could have, that's my point, but you can't, I get it because they only have so much time. So they're trying to,
I wish that would have been Sue Storm, but whatever.
But oh my God. Oh, that was okay. And that's the other thing. My other first impression is that they're playing a lot of fan service. So they are, right? But they do it in different ways. Patrick Stewart, this guy as Reed Richards,
John Krasinski.
Him, you know what I mean?
I think that is Reed Richards. Anson Mount back as Black Bolt, but the Black Bolt everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Tawanda Wise back as Captain Marvel.
But we haven't had her as Captain Marvel officially.
No.
But she's not going to be that. We're not going to get that Captain Marvel.
But we know her from Captain Marvel. Like she's like it's just as in this universe, she is Captain Marvel instead of just being the best friend of Carol Danvers.
Yes.
So like, so we haven't gotten that experience yet. So like, so okay. So this was my take on Patrick Stewart. So like, the immediate reaction of, oh my God, yes, that was literally the audience when I watched him, like, oh yes, awesome, Patrick Stewart. But also thinking back on it, you know how sometimes when you're like bugging your parent for something, like you're like,
so they just give it to you.
Give it here, damn.
Here.
That's what that was to me. Here, take damn, get out of my face.
In the yellow chair and everything.
Also, you can tell that. Okay, I call that universe the fan service universe because we got John Krasinski as Reed Richards. We got the Marvel 1992 version of Charles Xavier along with the cartoon song. So I'm pretty sure this universe is a cartoon universe put in real life. That's my headcanon.
That's right. Okay, all right. I can see that though, because even between Wanda and that was everyone's favorite fight. I think I'm pretty sure it was
actually
also
Peggy, like coach.
No,
Captain
my
Carter
favorite fight was
a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was one for a lot of people. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I will say, it was the way she neutralized everyone was solid. She was like, "What mouth?" And then he like popped his own head open, and then she unraveled this bitch until his head popped open, and I was just like, it was like it got really horror after that. I think that's what it was like the beginning of like the horror part, and that's really why it like kind of.
It gave me horror like before then.
The beginning of the horror part was way at the beginning when she was fighting Converge.
Oh yeah,
like that's when things got real horror like and real magical. Because it felt more like fighting magic rather than just power beams. Also, who I went to the theater with, my best friend, he got so mad because they're like, "Oh, the Scarlet Witch is coming, Wanda's coming," and they're like, "We need to make Converge a fort," and they're all lining up and preparing for battle. And he's like, "Are those bows? Are they really going to bring longbows? Okay, so they're going to lose."
They could have done something. They did.
I mean, but you know what? The callback to her in Age of Ultron messing with people's minds was a great scene there.
Yeah.
Run.
That was a move that I'd been waiting for like ever.
Like she still got all her bag of tricks. Just because I don't use this one that much, I mean I still can't do it. Thank you.
They brought back her horror powers.
I think that her powers are really, really deep, and I don't think that we've really gotten to see her at her peak. But I feel
she's still learning. That's the thing. Like she's still learning.
They bring her back. Obviously, we're not really sure, but also this movie does feel standalone. So it kind of feels like they aren't.
It does, but that's because
it feels like they're kind of retiring her, and then it's soon to be Doctor Strange. Because that's the other thing; they're also retiring all of their OG Avengers.
I don't think they're doing that with Wanda. Wanda's gonna come back.
No, I don't think they're retiring her. I don't think they're retiring her. I think the issue is that Doctor Strange needs his own movie. I think they're trying to get a little bit away from always having everything so intricately together, because especially now with COVID restrictions, that's a little bit harder just to make a movie with everybody there. Sure, it's getting better, but I don't think that's the way we're going to go anymore. And two, Doctor Strange does need to be able to stand on his own. And this is the first movie that it really feels like Doctor Strange can. Because the first one really didn't. And so now we've got a chance to explore.
Dependent on the ancient one.
And this one was dependent on Wanda, right?
Yeah.
Because it felt like her movie to me.
No, it was dependent on Doctor Strange to save the day.
So I guess to your point, Kelly. So like when you think about when you're in phase 1 and you're introducing these characters and they have their own thing for at least a movie or two before you start seeing them put together in Avenger movies.
Exactly.
Right.
So maybe this is the TV series was their attempt to kind of do that for some of them before the ones that we already have, and then until they get ready to introduce the newer ones, and hopefully the newer ones will have their own standalone movies.
Exactly.
Until they start piling them together. So like now this is the time to start breaking down and putting these folks in their individual origin standalone movies.
Yeah. Well, too, it's very clear that they want to explore Strange's. Sorry, they want to explore Strange's, actual story, especially by bringing in Clea, his eventual wife.
Yes, I had to look her up.
Oh my god, yes. Yes,
I looked her up as soon as like, who is this purple bitch in this movie? Let me see.
Clea.
One of the best wives in all of Marvel Comics.
I got all that within a good Google search. I'm like, who is this woman right here? Because this looks
a Sorcerer Supreme herself.
I'm like, I'm ready for it.
And she controls the Dark Dimension, or at least her family does.
She's a member of the Dark Dimension. Her dad, uncle. She's Dormammu's daughter or niece, depending on how you want to say it.
It's Dormammu's niece, but when Dormammu dies, which he did in the MCU, technically, she does take over.
Right.
So I don't think that she's taking over here, but I do think that she's playing a powerful role in trying to keep things together. And I think that to me ties more into the more mystical elements that we're going to see probably with season 2 of Loki, which means I do think Wanda will show back up at some point during that time. But I think what's going on is we're seeing a branch. So like we're seeing this branch of the mystical arts, which are going to be probably tied back together by the time we get to Young Avengers. But I think they're kind of off on their own. Just like Thor might sort of be connected there, but I think Thor is going to start connecting more back towards the Eternals. And they're going to have their own little cosmic field day.
Yeah.
And Guardians of the Galaxy.
Until everything comes to a head again.
So do we think there's going to be a third Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably later on.
It might not be soon, but
in some way.
Yeah.
Kelly, is there something called the Incursion War?
Incursion?
Are you familiar?
Convergence.
There's
Convergence. That's it.
Yeah. So, and it does tie into Secret. I think this is going to tie into what we know as Secret Wars, which doesn't quite count, but I think it's going to be.
Can we talk about how? Oh no, Ellie. All right. So, but could we also talk about how like, what if? Was it really a what if?
Yeah, it was a definitely precursor to this.
Like, just because
the things I loved about that was that they gave him his time to shine as like a different. A different Strange, as a different version of Strange. They made him like dark. They made him really like warlocky. I was here for that.
So like the what if wasn't really what if. What if was like get ready for some shit that's about to go down.
It's coming.
It's coming. Like not what if. We're giving you some clues. Do with them what you will.
But then this goes back to the fan service though. So I feel like they do a lot of things wherein afterwards they feel the results and then they act accordingly. You know what I mean? So this what if was almost like a poll. Which ones were the best ones? Which ones were the best received? The one that had the female Captain America, the one that had Doctor Strange as a warlock, and then because I don't think every episode of What If was in there, but it seems like there was a fair amount, but the ones that were probably their most popular ones. And then it goes back to the fan service of putting this guy in as Reed Richards. I feel this was a fan service movie.
I honestly feel
I think it needed to be.
Yeah, they had like
it needed to be.
Illuminati in there because the Illuminati is.
I like how you keep referring to him as this guy.
Oh,
Shady. John, call him Johnny.
Who are we talking about though?
That's Johnny Storm. Don't you say that.
Oh, that guy. See, there goes again. John Krasinski. I can't help it. I can't help it. So
Emily Blunt's husband. Just do that.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt's husband.
Mhm.
John Krasinski. Okay, I got it. I got his name now. So they had him as Reed Richards. So
I've
I
been
feel
waiting
like
for him. Yeah.
it was actually really just a fan service movie, maybe.
Like I said,
I think just that part was, that portion was.
Oh, here you go, Kelly.
I'm back.
So, that like it felt like with Patrick Stewart, it was like you're bugging your parents and you're asking to give you something. It was more like a here, damn, take it, get out of my face. I know you've been asking for it, but here, take it real quick and go on. and then it was done. Then he was gone.
Yeah,
I definitely think we deserve that.
but
we deserve the chair. We deserve the suit. We deserve John Krasinski. We deserve all of it. And if Emily Blunt is not cast as Sue Storm, I'm going to be very angry, and that's all I have to say.
No.
Well, so
I refuse all of that. I think the way that I feel is, it's cool to see. It was cool to see John Krasinski as Reed Richards, but me personally, knowing the MCU as it is, since Tony Stark is dead, they do sort of need the new smart guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like Reed Richards would be the perfect fit in for that. But also, Reed Richards should be in his 30s along with Sue Storm. And right now, since I feel like he should have grown up in the MCU during the Marvel age. So having the unveiling of Iron Man be an influence to him as a kid, him being a kid and seeing New York be invaded by aliens and having everyone come to terms with the idea that aliens are actually out there and real. All those things should be things that inspire him to look deeper into science, to want to explore space and try to explore space, to try to become an explorer.
Maybe so. Maybe in his universe, when they get their movie, maybe we'll get that story.
Honestly, but that's the thing. So the latest Fantastic Four was a Marvel release, though, wasn't it?
It was Fox.
No, it was still Fox.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fantastic Four. Also, no one talks about Fantastic Four stick.
I love Fantastic.
No.
I love it.
No, I do. They are doing Fantastic Four. John Watts just left pre-production. So clearly they're in the lookout for a new director. I do not know if it's going to be John Krasinski or not, but I do like the nod because
No one knows.
Do like the nod?
Yeah. I like the fan service nod because to me too, especially with this, we've had so many things where everybody was almost insufferable about what they particularly wanted to the point that storylines potentially could have suffered. Now, Spider-Man No Way Home did it brilliantly, and I love them for it, but I was very worried. Here, they're giving you what you want, which is these cameos, these people, especially the people that like during WandaVision, everybody's like, they're showing up. They're going to show up. X-Men are going to show up. Fantastic Four is going to show up.
Yeah.
You got them. Maybe not the way you wanted. Might be careful what you wish for here. But I really enjoyed that because that was also saying, here's your cameos. But also, I'm just killing them because they don't mean anything for this story.
It was perfect.
And since it's, the thing is it is a standalone movie and it is a multiverse, we'll see them later. No one's really that. The thing about Marvel, the only absolute dead person in Marvel is Uncle Ben.
Yes.
And even he comes back to life.
Yeah. Poor man, he never makes it.
So the thing is that everybody comes back. No one is truly dead. So
that really makes me sad.
It makes Peter sad too. If MCU Peter actually
if MCU Peter actually had and Uncle Ben. So
Well, he did. Like you see his initials everywhere. It's just
not in the MCU.
never talked
Oh, he
about
did.
him.
He's just already gone or wherever.
Yeah.
Maybe they might bring in a new one. Who's to say? Because what his Aunt May is so young, she might find a man.
He was Uncle Ben.
Ben.
That's a little.
Dead, sir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's gone.
Just kidding. I haven't watched those. Yes.
This guy.
I don't know what's going on there.
Oh
I
man.
have a question for the panel.
Okay.
What comic Marvel character do you think deserves their own Marvel TV show? Origin story.
Oh.
Origin story, yeah.
Origin story, okay.
6 episodes.
6 episode.
I don't.
Origin story.
I have one. I have
one.
Marvel
character. Just one.
No,
not like a team.
Give us one.
One character.
No, not a team. Not a team.
Not a team.
Not a team yet.
Okay.
I'll tell you mine.
Fine.
I'll tell you mine. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, you gotta start.
I think that Storm would have a great 6 episode build.
No.
Dealing with her.
Veto. Cheating.
Excuse me.
She's a member of the team.
Hello.
No.
Hello.
I'm not gonna get this.
Hello.
Sit back.
Hello.
Let's get back on this one.
Hello.
Okay.
So, as I was saying, I think Storm would be great for a 6 episode build up, starting with her origins when she's a child, and even her parentage, and beyond that, just adding more to the mystical universe. Starting there, but I think Storm would have a cool 6 episode origin story before we see her in a group.
So this was one of my questions after watching Multiverse. Do the X-Men, as we know them, are they even in the multiverse that the MCU that we are currently like fully engrossed in? Are they really a part of that? Are they somewhere else?
Right. Are they gonna bring them in from a different multiverse?
They sort of answered that.
I feel like they shouldn't bring them in from another universe because that's dumb.
I don't know. My thought process is though, because this is my thought process, because while the multiverse is like the characters for the most part are the same, there's certain little kinks or tricks about them that are different. So like the fact that our Wanda doesn't have kids, but all these other multiverses, she has her twins, she has her sons. Doctor Strange doesn't get with Christine, but like it's just like there's certain things that they're sort of similar, but there's like a little hiccup somewhere where it makes you feel like they're what we're looking for isn't in the main universe that we're used to in the films.
What I believe is going to happen is we're going to wind up with a cosmic little reboot after all the multiverses start fighting and collapsing.
Yeah.
That's how the X-Men are going to show up. My theory on it is I think that they might be the 838 universe that we saw. They might wind up having no home, no universe to go back to, and so they have to live in the MCU, and that's kind of how we're going to more get Krakoa, and we're going to kind of bypass a lot of this stuff, and then I could see them doing, like you said earlier about the miniseries, for the characters, because the thing is, X-Men work better as a soap opera because that's what they are.
Yeah. They're full drama. Drama top to bottom.
So they would work better as a series, especially when it has this rotating cast already. They can do endless things. I think that would be an endless supply for Disney Plus to just have a full X-Men thing, but they've got to find a way to bring them in as organically as they possibly can. And I think at this point, the best thing to do would be an alternative universe, because then too, that's how, Wanda can find Magneto as her dad, because a large part of why they're no longer related has a lot to do with the movie rights. But now those movie rights are together. So
we can fix all those things.
Why not?
So that would have been a nice fan service cameo.
Yeah, that right now I feel like they've sort of written it so deep that finding a universe where Magneto is Wanda's parent or Wanda and Pietro's dad would be great, but I don't think it's essential to the story that the MCU is telling now. Like, us deep fans will always hold dear and hold on to the twins being part of the House of M. But I don't think the MCU really needs it at this point. Also, I feel like the most organic way for the X-Men and mutant kind to come into the MCU would to just start them as they started in the comics. Just small instances here and there. There might have been a couple of mutants a while ago, but they're like have the boom mutant kind start right now. So we've also not been introduced to Namor.
Wait, America's a mutant, technically, isn't she? Just a mutant from a different dimension?
She's also from another universe, though, so she doesn't count.
She's just her own creature.
Her universe, her home world is actually outside of the multiverse. And this, I'll be honest, America has one of the direct translations from comic to screen origins that we've seen in a very long time. There's not a lot of changes. She had two moms in that universe, and the only difference in her origin from that to what we saw was her mother's actually, kind of helped her on this journey through the multiverse to find her sister who was lost. Here it's just her mothers that are lost. But her mom's their universe is just it's like a prime universe, and it's just completely, it's almost this, I think it's Utopia Prime or Utop something Prime, and it's completely away from the multiverse. It is not affected.
I see.
It's essentially its own universe, just like Spider-Gwen.
Because that was kind of them doing something like that, where they're introducing someone from a different dimension verse of some kind, universe of some kind, and now they're kind of residing into the MCU, because now here she is, Para Carmitage, learning how to do magic of all things, on top of the fact that she already has her own powers. It's nice the way that they're bringing that in. So honestly, they could do something like that. I feel like they're going to. That's how they'll do it. They'll open, now that they've opened up the multiverse, they'll find some way to bring them in from another dimension. But once they're here, they're here. You know what I mean? Then, once you have a mutant from another
that
dimension,
would also open us up to incursions, though. So you don't want to have too many upsets in the world, even though if they are going to.
But doesn't the multiverse end
towards the conversion? What?
No. In
Marvel, doesn't crumble?
No, so you're thinking of DC Comics, where that seems to happen every, especially in the 80s and 90s. Every single time they needed a big blockbuster, they always made multiverses and then destroyed them. Marvel has always let them, has always let them expand, because every decision creates a what if. Yeah. And that was the whole point of the What If series. Because that's how you get my girl.
Yeah.
That's how you get Spider-Girl, like Mayday Parker or Annie Parker, Spider-Ling. That's how you get Spider-Gwen, all of the Spider-Verses. You can't have a Spider-Verse without the multiverse. But the issue is when they act together and they're constantly merging, those universes start merging together and colliding, which is what we saw in Doctor Strange. It's like convergence. So we don't want those things. We want every universe to kind of live harmoniously, and
well, we're gonna get those things.
You know that your favorite person, if they're not in the 616 or in the MCU 616, even though that used to be 19999.
That annoys me.
It annoys me too. But but the whole thing is that that your character lives on in that universe. That was one of the things. I would get on my soapbox about Spider-Verse, the comics, because of what they did to Mayday Parker and her world, because she deserved a happy little life in her universe. They didn't need to mess with her.
Everybody deserves better.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dan Slott. Anyway, he blocked me on Twitter, so it's fine.
I love it. I love it.
All I did was post a cosplay too. All I did was post a cosplay, and he just didn't like seeing Mayday Parker on his feed. I guess I don't know. It was very weird.
I love it.
But yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, Marvel has this unique ability to be able to kind of in the past at least, let their creators create. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't quite fit that main continuity, it's in a what if, and that's okay.
Yeah. Also, Marvel is very gun shy about rebooting because they just keep this sliding timeline going instead of going, okay, enough. Let's start it over, and they'll try to start over, which was what Marvel, like Ultimate Marvel was. They were like, okay, let's try to start over, but like more modern, more fresh, without all these like 40 years of baggage. And it was seminally like successful until they went off the deep end, and they're like, okay, enough of this.
Well, it wasn't even that they went off the deep end. It just wasn't selling as well as the main continuity. It was always going to be a what if. It wasn't ever going to be a full reboot. That was kind of a rumor started in ye old message board days, because Ultimate started at the same time as the MC2, which was a more 90s based future of Marvel featuring Spider-Girl and stuff like that, because that started from her what if story. And see, that ran just as long as Ultimate, although I think Ultimate beat it by like 2 years. But the thing is that those were always going to be separate universes. The sliding time scale, for better or for worse,
MC2 came out before Ultimate Marvel.
Slightly. Not it's about a year apart, but not quite in terms of the series.
They're 2 years apart.
Maybe 2 years apart, but I think it's about a year ultimately, because MC2 didn't really start picking up steam until it was in Scholastic and the book fairs in the little Marvel Digests. But Ultimate was selling more on the shelves.
Yeah, the more you know.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Well, anyway.
But again, the sliding time scale, for better or for worse, is kind of why we have these characters in these movies now.
Right.
If we rebooted them and took away all of their history, it wouldn't work.
They don't strip them of all that. And DC always does. Like every 5 years, it's a crisis. Reboot the whole world.
Yeah,
Marvel doesn't do that. Even when they tried, which was what Convergence was going to be. Like they've been trying to do that for the last 10 years. They're like, Axis, this is it. Okay, wait, Convergence, this is it. No, wait, time runs out. This is it. They just never do it.
Okay, so what else do we think about where we're going to go from here, if you don't mind me?
Yeah, so now that means where are we going from here? Exactly. So, this is a hard one. Because this was very standalone, and I guess we were at least myself as a fan was expecting this to be more of a setup, and it wasn't. It like cracked things open in a way, but it also didn't give us anything concrete.
So back to my original question, where is the middle ground in this? You have your cosmic, you have your
but then
superhumans meta type people like the Marvels are coming out soon.
I think that they did a lot of convergence in this movie, as in like Doctor Strange. They, for example, let's say what's his name? Charles Xavier. When Charles Xavier entered their universe's Wanda's mind, it's now metahuman versus magic. You get me? So that like they're all in one, even though his is more science. He's a mutant, so he's supposed to be is a biological mutation. It's something scientific. And and that's how his power operates. Yet it's still working on a mystical level because he's entering her mind and then playing her mind game and finding the real Wanda of that universe trapped inside, and then the invasion of the other Wanda from a completely different universe. across planes and dimensions. You know what I mean? So that
I don't think that's what she's asking, Julian.
The question
asking
is how are they linking? I think that they do link in different ways, even though we don't have the proper explanation.
So apologies to hardcore old G fans, like, because I feel like metahuman is more of a DC term than it is a Marvel term. So like mutants, because we haven't been introduced to mutants yet, but we have been introduced to our humans that have been given some type of super strength. So like Captain America,
called mutagenic.
Yeah, or something like or something scientific happened to them that has given them these skills, and then you have your just overly skilled humans, as opposed to that just been like, something's been injected into them. But like, so because we haven't been introduced to actual mutants yet, so like my thought process is because of all of these different things. Because when you think about it, like WandaVision, Doctor Strange, Loki, they're kind of in like a pocket of the world. Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, they're about to be in their own pocket. Hawkeye, Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're in their own type of pocket. And I feel like the Marvels are in their own kind of pocket too. We haven't gotten the Marvels yet, really, except for what we got, that little smidgen from.
They go in the cosmic pocket.
Right. Well, but they kind of do and they kind of don't, though. They're kind of the in between.
Right. Okay. Well, here's the thing. In the comics, technically in the comics, don't each of these live in their own space? You have all your cosmic stories, you have your mythical stories that kind of usually.
But technically, they don't, though, because when you get the Avenger movies, like, they're technically all within the same space. Like, even like Black Panther is someone that's had something like scientifically, I guess in a way, like medically done to them for him to have these powers. Oh. So like how does this all, like, I want to know, like, how's it going to all come together?
So what you're asking is what event draws them all together? What would make all these three story streams cross?
Yes. And I guess because it took us forever to get to the Thanos part of the first half or the first portion, that, like, I wonder what comes from here.
So that, I think, is what they're trying to figure out now, because I think that they have what I'm seeing is it feels like there's about 3 different big cosmic things that are going to happen to bring them together. And I'm wondering, because at first it's like we got hints of Galactus, but I don't think Galactus is showing up just yet. No. We've got hints of with Clea, Dormammu coming back. We have Thanos's brother and all of that
coming in.
Crap that is probably going to kick off Secret Wars. So there's right now it feels like there's it's almost more there's mini events that are going to lead up to the big summer blockbuster event that, and this is a lot like the way the comics work. You'll have your storyline, your standalone storyline, which I think this is very much Doctor Strange. It's just we had the lead-in with Wanda, and Wanda was the big bad for Doctor Strange here. So that's his standalone movie. Now he's going with Clea, and it's going to get a little bit bigger, a little bit more cosmic-y and together. And that's the same way with what happened with the Eternals and what's happened with other movies. So I think they're going to collide in like slightly bigger things. Like, I mean, right now Thor is with the Guardians, and that's kind of a team up.
Well, you know what I mean? The Eternals, they're out in space looking for the other planets that have it. So I feel like you're right. That I agree with.
I think it's just we're getting to the point of like this phase is going to be more mini as they consolidate to create the bigger story instead of having where everything has been branched out. And
I guess because we're still in that whole conglomerated era of Marvel, as opposed to the beginning where everything was very separate and pocketed, like into individual stories. Like, so right now, like, I can only see big picture. It's gonna take me a minute to go to separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, unlike before, we don't have little hints of, oh, that's an infinity gem that only a select few can recognize and like leak onto the internet like, ooh, infinity gems. Like now it's just like there's no like
There's no
artifact
definitive.
that's
Yeah.
going to
So,
force everyone to come together.
okay. Well, I mean, we're seeing things like, the Black Knight. We're seeing Clea.
Mhm.
We're seeing
Yeah,
right now. It's more we're
we've
seeing these newer
seen new
characters.
characters, but there's nothing like in the case of Black Knight and Clea. I can't think of a single like storyline where the two of them cross, and I'm like, oh yeah, like those two aren't
No,
like
but I
together.
But they're
no
They're nothing
representative
apart.
of
It's
things to come
very exciting.
individually.
exactly. They're
They represent things to come
Hmm.
individually. Like even seeing Professor X is a saying, "Hey, X-Men are coming." Even seeing Reed Richards, "Hey, Fantastic Four is coming." The
exactly.
Marvels, "Hey, they're coming." So we don't have to have it, like spelled out like we had previously. These are just small things to let us know, like, "Hey, we know that you want these things, and guess what? We're working on them. Here's the heads of these things.
But
They're
also,
coming. Just chill."
like like we said, like we've spent the last like I guess 5 or 6 years now with these big like group productions
Mm-hmm.
that it might take us a minute to kind of separate from that mindset when we were trying to figure out like what's going on as a big picture.
I think
Oh,
the issue is ultimately we need to reevaluate our expectations for the movie. Do we
Yeah.
want
That.
storytelling,
Hmm.
the long form storytelling, which is going to have to ebb and flow for people to have standalone movies and standalone stories to lead us one way or the other?
Right.
Or do we want these big giant things that ultimately are just a bunch of like this is kind of what I was griping on earlier was, in Endgame, as much as we love Endgame, a large part of it is just these very memeable fan service scenes that were earned over 10 years
Right.
Mhm.
versus
Hmm.
now we've got to re-earn these things. These characters need to build their stories back up so these
Mhm.
moments are earned in their next team up.
Right.
And
yep.
that's kind
Hmm.
of, ties back into, yeah, we got plenty of fan service. It just wasn't the way y'all, a lot of people expected it. And that's what I think has upset so many casual fans because they want what they want because they just got in game. I mean, a few years ago, they just got No Way Home. They
Yeah.
got everything they
They want the
wanted.
next one already.
In game
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to be payoff. In game is supposed to be
Exactly.
payoff, and so now
But
we're starting back at the
but
bottom.
also,
Exactly. And so was No Way Home. No Way Home was a payoff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
hmm but also in that same vein, answering you, Ricky, um, it did start off slow and then like grow into these like big team up movies, but that was just going from individuals into one team as
Hmm.
opposed to having one team, two team, three
Hmm.
team, three-way crossover. That's a
Hmm.
big deal to try to deal with. That's a lot to try to converge into one big movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Having the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers and like I don't know the new Warriors and the new Young Avengers and the Dark Avengers. That's a
It's
lot.
also, it's
Yeah.
also hard to like piggyback on Endgame as well. That's another
Mhm.
thing. It's like you have to really consider that Endgame was that where it really did have Guardians of the Galaxy, all the
And
Avengers,
had all
and
of
all
like
these
Hmm.
everything.
and literally all these other like groups all together in one. But we can't expect that every single
I mean,
time.
it took
But
10
that was
years.
the
Right.
one
Yeah, it's too
time big
soon,
super event. That was the
and that's what you
super
should have.
crossover.
So we
So
were
having
But
everything go back down to individuals
yeah. Okay, so
and
brilliant.
And I guess also
Kelly's
because
right,
like
the
this is
X-Men
what
should have a Disney Plus series and only have their big moments be movies.
and I
Well,
think also because like this is like in game, like Infinity Wars in game is like when you're getting like peak
mhm.
Marvel participation as far as like those of us
I,
that were not like OG comic book fans have been really paying attention from the moment they brought out Iron Man or even Blade, even. But like those fans that are really just into the movies and been following along and trying to keep up with the movies, like Endgame and Infinity Wars are like its peak. So like when you're expecting those type of like big blockbuster hits and you want all of those characters and all this stuff and everything, kind of like it's gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a minute for us to come down from that.
Well, it's like a drug.
Yeah.
The thing is, you want that hit, you want that high, and unfortunately, you can't get that every single time.
Yeah. Because then that's the other thing, because I mean, the setting that brings together all of those groups the way that we saw it doesn't happen all the effing time. Not even like, you know, every 10 years. No, there aren't that many storylines that just have it, that bring all these characters together.
Well, now there are.
But it's not to say that we're plateauing, but like but like they're taking it down a notch. So like we got to build this back up now.
Well, too, it's more we're in the weeds. We don't see the next big storyline like they do, and that's what they're setting us up for. The thing is like, I mean, in comics nowadays, almost yearly, sometimes twice, depending on what's going on, you'll get these big blockbusters where everyone comes together. But the thing is that movies take longer to produce and write and you know, get out there. So we have to be patient. And I think that that's kind of the situation, is that we live in an instant gratification world, and we got all our big moments. Now we want more big moments, but we can't just get them instantly.
And we got those big moments within actually a very small time frame within the 10 years. I mean, like those big moments were like I'm saying, like Infinity Wars, Endgame, within like what, a year, 2 or 3 years within like each other. Like over the 10-year period. So like those big moments were just kind of like bam, 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 as opposed to the first portion of the first, like, what, 2 or 3 phases where like they're introducing each individual character and growing, and like you have to eventually go back and look out for everything to see where everything connects.
But I will say this, we are getting female Thor, which I think is going to be
oh my god, I feel like we're moving towards a very female heavy cast, like assemblage of some sort, and I'm so here for it though.
I mean, the Marvels.
Yeah.
Well, we're moving into Ironheart. Yeah, we're moving into the more modern day Marvel characters, which are very much a very diverse cast. So it's kind of like we saw our classic Avengers. Now we're getting into what is considered like the new Avengers. And, you know, it's only gonna get more interesting from here, because how did these two teams really connect with each other?
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of random team ups, though, as small ones, small version ones, I had a question on Instagram. What do we think about Venom and Spider-Man? Will they ever actually converge in the MCU? Do we think that that's going to happen?
They're owned by Sony.
Don't try to bring up on that now.
It's by Sony, but like, once Sony writes.
They're owned by Sony. I don't see we're ever going to see Venom with the MCU. But I do think we will see Spider-Man with Venom in the next 6-7 years.
Okay. That's a nice expectation. It was 7 years to watch the first 3 Spider-Man movies that I still have not.
No, it might not be the same. It might not be Tom Holland Spider-Man. That's the thing.
That's like it might be time for him to switch up now.
Yeah, by then. By then, yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll see Venom, and I think we'll see Eddie and Peter duke it out again, and it won't be Topher Grace and Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Thank God.
That would have been that would have been a fun
and
cameo.
on that,
that would have been a fun cameo.
That would have been a fun cameo.
To wrap this up, y'all.
We do.
Yeah, we do. I was saying when they came out at the time, it was amazing. So I mean that was back then. So things have changed since then. All right, we're gonna kind of wrap this up. So this has been great. Where's the MCU going? We're not really sure.
This was
not that place. This was not the.
But I'm excited to see it.
Exactly.
But all right. So then, last thoughts on Multiverse of Madness. Ricky, hit me. What'd you think?
Okay, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that also having the expectation of Not all of our questions are going to be answered. I think that and that's fine. It opened up more questions for me to wonder what is the big picture, and I didn't get that answer, and I'm gonna have to be patient. I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right, go ahead.
All right, Jermaine, hit me.
I love the movie. One thing that, okay, I know the internet is all talking about the fight against the Illuminati, which it was all right, but the musical fight was my favorite fight.
Oh my god! So
with Danny Elfman.
All you want.
Let's talk about that one because I liked
That
it.
was
and
my personal favorite. That was the most magical thing in the entire movie for me. Come on.
Oh, I'm gonna stick to what I said earlier. I think that she had some really good comebacks. Her zingers are great. Elizabeth, she nailed being a villain so cool, right? And like about motherhood, about I'm being reasonable. And when she said about she said if you Dr. Strange asked Wanda, what are you gonna do if we don't give her up to you? And she was like, well, in that case, Wanda won't be coming for her. It'll be the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
So here's your warning. Okay.
Here's your warning. I'm being reasonable. And
then,
honestly, for those comic book fans, you know that she is being reasonable, and she probably could have did a lot worse damage than that.
Yeah.
But that was my original thoughts. And then I posted something like, "Who would win, the Charmed Ones versus Scarlet Witch? Who would win, Willow versus Scarlet Witch?" It's been so much fun on the internet.
Jokes up for failure. That's rude.
Why are you trolling?
Charmed,
like that?
charmed.
Okay. Kelly.
All they need is the hollow.
Charmed can't beat her. She took all of the other times and the Illuminati. You think the Charmed One's gonna fight her?
Yep.
She said what lips? How are the Charmed Ones ever gonna change?
Which Charmed Ones though?
Thank you.
Which ones are we talking about?
Hollowells or the face?
I only acknowledge one publicly, and that's the Hollywells. And if the Hollywells got the hollow, which absorbs all magic,
it's true. You know what? I will tell you, and I think it would be one hell of a fight. I can't necessarily state who I think would it. What I would hope is Wanda and Piper would bond over their children, and then they wouldn't fight.
Yeah, and that'd be it.
No, she's trying to steal Piper's kids.
That's how the episode would end, right?
Don't do that to her.
Mom, you both are mothers. You both are mothers.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Because you're seeing with them in like the nursery, and all the kids are playing together. They're just like,
look what you're destroying. Look what you're destroying. Look.
Oh. One more thing. As much as I love Sam Raimi, I hate that he can't direct kids. Like, what were the boys doing that entire movie?
Because they weren't WandaVision kids.
Those kids also they're not great actors.
Like, why were they acting like 5?
Yeah.
Because Danny Elfman wrote them a wonderful song about ice cream, and Danny Elfman is Sam Raimi's friend, and they weren't going to cut that out.
Oh my goodness.
They're 16 years old, still begging for more ice cream. I'm sick of this.
Heck yeah.
I'm over it.
That's me. That's me in my 30s, okay? I want more ice cream too. Kelly, what about you? What was your
final thoughts?
My final thoughts, honestly, I say go see it. I loved it. I think if you love Evil Dead, if you love Sam Raimi being Sam Raimi, and you just want a fun time, this is it. Just don't worry about what's coming next. Worry about the present moment and just enjoy the ride, because this was fun.
Yes, it was.
Wholeheartedly agree. All right. So with that, okay. So this was Multiverse of Madness. This is great, guys. Thank you for joining us, Kelly. We have enjoyed you so much.
Come back.
Wow. Please.
I will definitely. Thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yay.
All right, so then, so everyone, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all those things. What are we doing next week? We don't know. Well, my name is Power Rangers.
Oh shoot! Yep, Power Rangers.
Power Rangers. We're doing the Power Rangers next week.
Power
Mighty
Rangers.
Morphin.
Oh, it's my turn.
Fun.
Yes, guys. Okay, this is also the thing. Okay, we're closing out with bangs, yo. Okay, we got Multiverse of
That's my
Madness,
episode. Yeah.
Power Rangers on the horizon. So please join us next Monday.
Get ready,
8 o'clock.
y'all.
We'll be here at Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagrams, sometimes TikTok as well.
When we feel like it.
Yes, leave comments. Even if you didn't like get to, if there's something we didn't get to, like honestly, we didn't talk about the sound fight, which I had love hate with. I did enjoy it, but there were the 3D part hates me. It kills me.
Yeah, but it's Danny Elfman.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm just.
Or we didn't talk much about Doctor Strange himself in this episode.
He was go back
Exactly.
the entire movie.
It's Wanda's movie.
Exactly.
He got the Scarlet Witch treatment. The Scarlet Witch. He got the Black Widow treatment. Where this is your movie. Nobody cares about you.
Yikes. That's going to be a highlight reel right there. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you all for joining us.
Okay.
Please
On that note, bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace out, guys.